Okay, so we're at race 4 here, claiming race on the dirt, and they're starting to take the horses to the starting gate. So up in my race selection here, you can see I have race 4 selected. It's highlighted, and it even tells me here current session is race 4 claiming on the dirt. A couple things to point out. You can tell that this race is active because my start and end buttons are green. This means that the system is ready for me to select when I want to start recording this race and I want to end recording this race, and then when I want to protect it. When I protect it, this saves the race for future reference back if I want to look at it again. It doesn't have to be when the race starts. It can be at any point during the race when I select this. So right now I'm going to go through the camera angles. I've right now got currently selected camera 4. I can switch to the head-on here. It's the same one, but I'm going to step through, and I'm going to wait till they get close to loading the horses into the gate or to the start. A couple of things I'll also point out that once you protect a race, if you select it from the list here, it will bring you automatically to that race to watch it again. I'll highlight that once we get through this first race, or this race that we're looking at here. So I'm going to start recording the race as soon as they start putting the horses into the starting gate. So I'm going to start recording now. You can see when I say start, you'll see on my timeline here, I have a little indicator Stewart start, and when I hover over it, it gives me the time of when I started recording. So now they're starting to bring the horses into the gate. Now, as the race goes, I'm going to start using these store points to note certain points along the race. When the race starts, when they hit the first turn, when they hit the back stretch, the turn to the finish, and the finishing stretch. So we'll just wait till they get them into the gate. And they're off. So I'm going to mark that as store point 1. You can now see in my timeline here, I've got store point 1. I'm going to change now to maybe a 3 split so I can get some better shots on it as to what's going on with the race. Maybe try for this one here. So now they've come into the turn, store point 2. I might have missed it. They might be on the back stretch. The point is that you can see now that if I've added a store point 2, they're going to come around for the final turn. So they're starting into the final turn. I'm going to mark that as store point 3. And now we're going to come into our final, into the home stretch. So I'm going to go to my head-on and wait for the end of the race. At this point, I might observe something occurring. So now we're watching the head-on for the final. And even though nothing's occurring right now, I'm going to mark this as I've seen an issue. So I'm going to mark it as an inquiry. So I'm going to hit the inquiry button right here. So you can see now that this has been tagged as an inquiry. We'll wait for the race to finish. They finished. I'm now going to mark this as end and protect. When I hit protect, that now has stored the race in for me to look at it, to review it. So you can see all my store points are here. The inquiry point is here that I wish to look at. And the race has started to replay itself back out again. A thing to note is that I'm not recording the streams as they're coming out through the race. I'm actually just making time point recordings. So if I wanted to change, so I'm going to go back to my inquiry point here, and I'm going to play the video. I can change the camera angle still. So I can go to tight, I can go to pan, I can bring up the quad split, I can use a different angle over here, and so forth. So now this inquiry is incurred. I want to look at it a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a loop. So I'm going to go to just before the issue occurred. I'm going to mark it as a loop in. You'll see here now I've got a loop in marker, and then I come into here and I'm going to record this as a loop out. Now you can see the video will automatically start replaying my loop. So if I go to a full screen and the head on, you'll see that it keeps popping back and forth between that loop in and out. If it's a little bit too tight, I can change my position and I can move my loop out to there, and that makes it a little bit longer, the looping between the inquiry and the moment. If I want to pause it, I can do frame by frame. Keep a note that this is also being displayed on the main screen, so I can go frame by frame, as well as I can use either pinch zoom on a touch screen or I can use the controls itself. I can start to zoom in on parts of the race. So using the mouse to control this, I can zoom in, I can start to step frame by frame to see what's going on. And again, this is occurring on the main screen here. And I can actually run it live. Back to my quad, and then back to live. So I've done my inquiry, I've sent down my results. I can clear the loop if I want, so I can go back to playing the loop. To go back to play the loop, I just select loop. I'm going to start playing through my loop again. If I want to send this loop, if I want to send it to someone who, like a jockey or an owner, to say this is what we looked at for the inquiry, the export loop button will allow you to send that down to a shared storage area where you can then grab that and share it out, as well as the screenshot. A couple other things I want to point out here is that I can step through the markers. So if I wanted to go back to store point 3, 2, or 1, I can use this previous marker, and this will step me back, as well as I can use the next marker. And this is each point, so the loop, the inquiry, the loop out. I also am not restricted to just one of these. So for example, let's say I saw an inquiry at this point here. I can set it another inquiry moment, and that allows me to have 2 inquiries in the race if I need to. Once that's all done, the race is now protected. And what I mean by that is that, for example, if I was to click on race 3, which I've already done, that automatically takes me to race 3. So now I can rewatch race 3 here. I can click to certain points in the race. I can click back to the inquiry if I want. If at the end of the day someone says, I want to see that inquiry again, I can click back onto race 3 and run it again. And I can still create loop points even though it's not a live race. So I can loop in and out of these moments. And you can see my looping starts up again. And then just again, there we are back to race 4. So now that race 4 is done, my inquiry is done, all this gets saved, it's been protected into the system. I can clear out my loop points if I want, so I've cleared out the loop points. If I want to come back again, I can recreate them, but I'm going to get ready for the next race. All I simply do is click on race 5. And now I can start waiting for race 5. You can see race 5 is selected here as the next race coming up.